Welcome, Bronco Nation, to another exciting video. Today, I have another recruitment special. We have Derek Ganter Jr., a recent signee for Boise State. He's actually going to be joining the team this year. He's a transfer from Eastern Washington, so he's leaving the red turf and he's coming to play on the blue. It's exciting to have you, Ganter, both in Boise, obviously, coming to play for Boise State, but also on the channel. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me.
This is going to be a great discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about your decision to come to Boise. We're going to talk a little bit about your playing time so far and just some of the things that excite you moving forward into the future. Just to get fans caught up to speed here, Derek was a all-star standout. Quite literally, he was part of Phil Steele's freshman All-American team and also All Big Sky second team. He had 95 tackles for Eastern Washington last season as a redshirt freshman, 4 pass breakups, 3.5 tackles for loss, a sack, and a forced fumble. And to put that in perspective, nobody else on the team had more than 60 tackles. Derek is an all-time playmaker, and he's coming to play for Boise now. Obviously, played 2 years for Eastern Washington. He's going to be a redshirt sophomore coming to join Boise State this season. Before we talk about your decision to come join Boise, let's talk a little bit about you getting into football in the first place. You're at a very unique level. I was talking about this with a recent signee for Boise State yesterday, and we were talking about how, only 7% of high school athletes make it to the collegiate level, any level at all. And now here you are, not just playing in the FCS, but now transferring up to play in the FBS as well. What has it been that's motivated you to pursue football and to get to the level that you are at today?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say at a young age, it's just just a passion and a love for the game. Like you just, love making plays. And, for me, like that's always been something that I enjoyed doing. And I guess as I got older, football, it's just taught me so much more than making plays and just becoming, the person that I want to be with all the relationships it's brought me. And my friends, my coaches, like there's people like that I know I got for life that the game has brought me, and it teaches me so much things off the field. And like I'm not gonna lie, like I don't like school, but it teaches me how to be a good student as well. And it keeps me like so just I just appreciate football because it gives me all aspects of life, honestly, and it just keeping my faith and in God and whatnot. And just so like I feel like football is just it's always helped me ever since that young age. It just always keeps improving my life overall as a whole. So
I love that you emphasize that off the field aspect as well, because so many players on the team and then incoming recruits, when I talk to them about, why they chose to come to Boise State, something that they emphasize is that relational off the field type of aspect that the coaching staff presents. It's not just about being on the field and being the best player that you can be, but it's also about becoming, like you were saying, the best human that you can be as well and building that character. Did that play a role in your decision to come to Boise State?
yeah, I mean that definitely played a decision. My mom came with me on the visit, and the reason why it's important for just for her to be there because I believe like my parents say they know me better than I do. So just having them and seeing what they think and their perspectives on things definitely means a lot. But yeah, just being able to see how things are outside of the football. Football's gonna take care of itself. But just people don't realize it's a lot of hours outside of the facility that happen that aren't seen. And that's those hours mean a lot to me. So just seeing how that would be. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the decisions that motivated you to come to and play at Boise State?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been my dream to play at the highest level possible and to play against the best. That's what I value as a player. I want to, I just want to play against the best, and I want to be the best. But, that's what motivates me on the field. And I want to play with the best as well. And it felt like, Boise it's a great place to do, both of all those things. Also just where I had a lot of schools reach out to me. But thing that stood out about Boise, is like, I guess we value the same things. Boise was the only place that, brought up religion Because I do have a strong faith with God, and I want to continue to build that. And I just thought that that was really special to me. That this is the only place that that talks about that. Doesn't make you do anything or nothing, but it was a topic that got brought up. And so to me, that just meant a lot. That says something about, the team, and then just the culture. Everybody's on the same page. I could just tell with the coaches and how they were moving. All the players. You got running backs talking to DB coaches, like that's not normal. So just seeing all of that, it just felt like it's a great place to be.
Can you talk a little bit before we talk about playing for Boise State here? Can you talk a little bit about the role that faith has had in your life in helping you get through some of the hurdles that I'm sure you've faced at the collegiate level already, and just what has contributed to the player that you are today as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing to just think about what God, what He can do, because you can only think so far, and rely on human wisdom so much, and you know that that had a big part of with me playing, entering the portal, because there's a lot of people say there's a lot of bad things, coaches can hard to believe in the portal and whatnot, and it's like I could try to rely on my own wisdom, and I could try to control certain things or another man, but at the end of the day I just gotta let faith, that's not living by faith if I'm trying to live by what I can see, so that throughout the portal process, that's something that I relied on heavy. And then just with my game, there's ups and downs in everything you do. So just always, just trying to see that bigger picture and trusting God, just whether it's a up or a down, just knowing that this is the route that's going to make me into the man that I want and need to be.
One more question before we move on talking about playing here at Boise State specifically. You've got to experience recruitment now from both the high school prospect level and now in the transfer portal as well. I think it's an interesting topic that fans are interested in here. How did that compare, just the recruitment process between those two levels, and because how coaches talk to you and the kind of the experience that you had there? Just can you compare those two recruitment processes and what they were like?
Yeah, I mean, out of high school, I had one offer, and that was the Eastern Washington. So I'm forever thankful for that. Um, but yeah, the difference is it's just so crazy. As soon as midnight hits, or I guess 9 o'clock my time, uh, you know, my phone was blowing up. I had my Twitter account had got deleted before, so I had to make a new Twitter. And I remember, like, I still got a screenshot in my phone. I had like 20 followers, and then next thing I know, I got 300. I was like, all right, like, I got random people calling my phone numbers, asking me to call or whatnot. People texting my dad, calling my dad. And so, it's just, it's crazy, just how different, playing in high school to college can be. And then, to me, and to my family and all my coaches and people I grow up, it's like we've always known what I can do. And, we'll always believe that. But, it's kind of just you got to see who's trying to like it's just crazy how like all the stories you hear about the portal, and people throwing numbers at you, and like just breaking the rules, like it's a real thing. So I just thought it was kind of surreal at first. It's like, yeah, like, dang, like this is something you dream about, like, but it's just it was, I was thankful for it, but yeah, it was definitely a little chaotic. But my dad and I found a way to calm it down. So
Well, you've emerged from that chaos and you found a home here at Boise State. So let's talk a little bit about you coming to Boise. Obviously, when the announcement was made, it said DB. I know you spent a lot of your time at Eastern Washington playing safety, but in my understanding, you also came down to corner a little bit. I may be off on that, and correct me if I am. Your role at Boise State, have they talked a little bit about just kind of where they see you slotting in on the defense here?
yeah, so at Eastern Washington, I mean, I played safety, and I would come down. to that dime at some point. So, and Boise, honestly, I mean, they don't see me doing anything, they don't see me doing anything differently. So just continue doing what I'm doing. And, like I said, the reason why I picked Boise was, just the developmental piece. I believe in Coach Stock, that he will, like he's a smart guy, and that and how they'll use me. And I've seen, I've watched the film, I've seen, I went over a couple of installs, and I could see myself, I can envision myself making plays. So, I don't see we don't plan on, changing me, from nothing I've been doing. Cause, like I said, that would take away from the player I am. So, yeah.
Well, you talk about making those plays, and you also talked about putting that faith in yourself. And Boise State's defense likes to put out their DBs on some islands and send some blitz packages in. You have some tackles for loss here and some sacks as well. What role did Boise State's defensive style, not just where you fit, but their defensive style overall, have in your decision to come to Boise State?
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, like, just looking at you look at their stats from last year as a defense, people talk about offensive side. Offense was great, but, defense defense was great too. Just number one in sacks as DBs. That's like people, that's not normal. Like that, like, that's like a crazy number to have. So, just that style, kind of just, trigger me because, I mean, you look at my stats, I tackle people like, I mean, a lot. And so just seeing that other positions have a lot of tackles and lead that as a group, I just felt like that fits me as a player a lot. So it was kind of like, yeah, we got something here. So
Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about your excitement to, obviously you've been playing on that Inferno on that red turf. Can you talk about now coming and playing at Boise State? Obviously you got to go out on your visit and see it and step out on the blue. You were able to, I'm sure, kind of picture that game environment playing out on the blue turf. Can you talk a little bit about that transition, red turf to blue, and your excitement to come play on it.
Yeah, I mean, when I mean, Roos Field, the Inferno, it's not exactly like a stadium, I guess. So I've never like, got that whole stadium piece. So stepping on the blue, it was just like, dang, like this is like a real like stadium, like, just picturing that, and whatnot, and just the facilities in general is just, way different from what I've had experience with. So, it's just kind of like, like, dang, like, what if this was normal to me? It was kind of like crazy. It was just like, but, it's also just something like, it's like, yeah, I just never would want to take that for granted. So it's just like, it's just motivation, like every day just to see and look up and like, all right, like I'm looking at all these stands, I'm looking at this blue turf, I'm looking at the weight room, the nutrition and all that. It's just like like we got something here. Like let's use all of this to the best of my, all of our ability.
Talking about not taking that for granted, and there's a lot to not take for granted coming onto this team that has so many expectations coming off of their first ever playoff appearance. What does that feel for you? I know that Eastern Washington last year didn't have the most successful overall season, and now you're coming and joining a team that's coming off of their first ever playoff appearance with a lot of expectations. What does it kind of feel for you joining a roster with so much of a limelight on it and coming off of so much recent success?
Yeah. I haven't had a winning season since, my sophomore year of high school. And, I do value winning. I understand that, it's not guaranteed. But that's something that, like when I'm going in, I guess my mentality is, I want to learn from the dudes around me. Like these dudes know what they're doing. Like they've been some places where I have not been. And so they clearly know something and do something differently than what I am used to. And, just chasing that and just learning how to do all of that, is, just very key. And, I'm just ready to, just be a part of it and get to work. Like I'm trying to like, I don't want it to be no different. Like, or, like the standard is the standard. And it's like, so whatever I can do to help up that standard, is what I'm willing to do.
Moving from and continuing to build that standard of moving from the FCS now to the FBS level and getting that opportunity, like you said, to play at the highest stage. Are there any hurdles or challenges that you anticipate moving from the FCS to the FBS here?
No, I don't think so. Like I mean, I've always, like I said, I mean, I dream about playing against, the best receiver in the country and lining it up with the best team behind me, and so just being able to actually, be able to do that now is just, it means a lot to me. And it's like the stage is set, and now it's more, what am I going to do with that? There's still like a lot more work to be done, a lot more weights to be lifted, a lot more running to do, a lot more techniques to rep out, a lot more learning to do. And it's so, you know, I don't see no hurdles. It's just more, it's going to be a different level of work. And that was a part of my decision. Like I want hard things. Like I want to be able to do hard. That's how you know you're growing. So
What about that change in your own kind of status with the team where you leave Eastern Washington, where again, 95 tackles, clearing away the leader there on the defense. Now you're moving to a team that you noted has so many playmakers all over the place. And so you're still going to excel, but now it's with a lot more competition. How is that for you? How are you handling that? And what are you doing to continue to keep yourself at a high level and set yourself apart?
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, like the hardest part about entering the portal, to me, honestly, was leaving my brothers that I was with. Because, like I said, I mean, so many relationships that were built, and the equity that got brought up with playing, and my time, my 2 years here, about to be a captain, and it's like, dang, like it's just gone now. I'm going starting from scratch, but like I said, just I want to go in there and I just want to earn the respect, from my teammates and show them like, like I got a chip on my shoulder, like I'm ready to work, and like, I want to learn from everybody, and that I mean, I'm not looking for no handouts, like that's not what I'm here for. Like I want to be the best, and I understand that you got to go through a lot to be the best, and I'm ready for everything that comes with that. So, and if I'm not ready, then I'm ready to go get built for it. So,
We talk about getting built for it. There's a lot of excitement for this team in 2025. Let's move to talking a little bit about this upcoming season. What would you say are the team's expectations here? And what you talk about maintaining that standard? When the coaches talk about the standard at Boise State, what do they say that standard is? What is their goal? Is it we're going to go to the playoffs, or is it you're just going to win the games we can? How do they talk about the ambitions of this program?
yeah, I mean, one that stuck out to me on my visit, just as a DB, was being the best DB group in the country, and that 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 right there said, that meant a lot to me, because I know as a DB, communication is key, and just knowing where I was at and where I come from, a lot of miscommunication, and just stuff that would go down there. But just hearing that and just seeing, not just being able to say that, but actually have a plan, and like, so just showing me, okay, how are we going to do that? This is what normal people do. This is how a normal practice, a normal walkthrough goes. Okay, we're going to do that, and then here's the different on how we're going to do that differently. So just seeing that, wins and all that'll take, like, that's gonna, the 60 minutes is going to be the 60 minutes regardless, but just seeing the actual plan on how things are laid out, um, you know, it's just, that stood out to me. And I was like, yeah, like, okay, like, being able to say how, being able to say, oh, I want to go FBS is one thing, but, listing out a plan. Okay, how am I going to do that? I thought that fit me as a person, just on a plan on how to do things, but then also being able to, execute actions and have proof of it, meant a lot. So, yeah.
Well, there's going to have to be a lot of testing for this DB group, and getting to be the best in the country is going to be a big step away to finding this way to win against some very elite competition. And now you're moving from Eastern Washington, where, if in looking back at your guys' records there, you played Nevada and Fresno State as two of the bigger programs, and now you're going to go play Notre Dame. I mean, what is that for you, knowing that you're again playing on that biggest stage, that transition like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting to know what's ahead, but like I said, it's just so much more work that got to be put in. It's easy to think about right now, like this is what I dreamed of, but it's like, all right, like I got to be ready for that moment. Like I'm gonna be prepared when that happens because it don't mean nothing if I go up there, as the same player as I was last season. Like that's not gonna do me no good. Like I gotta become something more than what I was then and keep building in order to be able to take in that moment and be the best that I possibly can be.
Well, another team that you're going to have to play against this season as well is you're going to have to play against Eastern Washington. That'll be the second week there. They're going to be coming and playing on the blue. What's your thoughts on that rematch there, for you seeing your alma mater in a different light?
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. My mental state for that game is probably gonna be a little bit more, as a football player, just violent. But you know, uh, it's gonna be exciting. I already a couple of my friends already have talked to me about it. They're gonna be talking to me or whatnot. And it's like, but they know what it is. Like they know me, I know them, and it's like like and y'all gonna see a different side of me, or I guess it's like y'all been playing with it. Now y'all gonna have to feel it. So that,
It's not just gonna be that practice energy. It's gonna be the game time energy they're gonna have to feel on the other
yeah.
side. Looking at the rest of the schedule here for 2025, is there anybody else? Obviously, you're excited to play every opponent, but is there anybody else that jumps out to you here? We already talked about Notre Dame, Eastern Washington, but got USF, Air Force, App State, New Mexico, UNLV, Nevada, Fresno State, San Diego State, Colorado State, USU. You've already played a couple of those teams while you were at the FCS level. Does anybody else pop out to you as games you kind of got circles or super excited about?
I mean, nah, not one more than the other, honestly. Like, I mean, I'm excited for all of them. Like I said, it's always been my dream to play at the highest level. So just knowing that I'm doing that every single game is like, let's let's go. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, all of those games, I'm gonna treat like it's my last. So yeah.
Well, the final question here, because these games aren't going to be your last. You're a redshirt sophomore, so you've got a few more seasons beyond this one here. 2026 and beyond, you're going to be joining the Pac-12. I mean, that is got to be for you. He's talking about playing at that highest level. Did you ever envision that you'd get to? I know it's a different Pac-12, but did you ever envision you get to wear that Pac-12 logo? And what does that mean for you coming to joining a team that's building towards a huge program goal?
Yeah. As a kid, you always, you talk about it and you dream about it. And like I said, it's just, a lot of work that gotta be done in order to get to those points. So, to me it's like okay, like, that'll be coming up in, a year. And when it comes, like I'm gonna be ready. And I'm gonna prepare myself for it. But it's just, I'm just thankful for the opportunity. That's all I really can be. And just don't want to squander the blessing that I have, to compete and play at that highest level. So I'm just gonna be ready for every opportunity that I can get.
Well, we're going to be ready to watch you play. Thanks so much for coming on. This has been a great discussion. Let us know in the comments, Bronco Nation. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Let us know in the comments your own excitement for this upcoming season, excitement and expectations and thoughts. I'd love to read any of those that you guys have. So thanks again, Derek, for coming on. Excited to see you come and play on the blue again. You are a very impressive playmaker, and Boise State's lucky to have you. So thanks for coming on the channel, and thanks for coming to Boise State.
Sir, thank you for having me. Go Broncos.
That's absolutely right. Go Broncos again. Thanks everybody for watching all the way to the end. Make sure you like, subscribe, and as always, go Big Blue!